The following podcast is taken from a live broadcast on Inspire FM.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning. You are tuned into Inspire FM 105.1 FM. It's Friday, 8th of December, and the time has now just gone 10 o'clock. Welcome to Mother's Planet, a show where there is always something to talk about in a productive and beneficial way. I'm your host, Neelum, and joining me on the show this morning is my guest, Sister Tazeen. Assalamu alaikum, sister, and how are you?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah, very well.
And how's the week been for you?
Alhamdulillah, very well, thank you. I'd like to give salam to all the audience, inshallah, and wish everybody a Jummah Mubarak, inshallah.
Oh, thank you, thank you. So, Tazeen, how have you found this weather?
Cold, alhamdulillah. I don't mind it too much. I quite like the autumn-winter season, alhamdulillah.
You took the words just out of my mouth. I was just about to ask you, what kind of season lady are you? Do you prefer the winter or the summer?
I'm actually an every season lady, alhamdulillah. I don't have a particular favourite, but I do enjoy the sort of the warmth of the autumn winter when you can sort of come in. It's got a nice cold day, a nice long walk in the cold, and come in and get warm. And I do enjoy that. Yeah,
I know. I'd like to say I'm a summer lady, but I think I'm like yourself, enjoying the winter where I think, oh yeah, it's all nice and warm, because in the summer it's hot and it's very little we can do to try and cool ourselves down. Whereas in the winter, if you're cold, you just layer up or go in warmer places. So it's easier to stay more happy and content. But I do find in the winter, I don't stop eating. And so I'm not in favor of the winter anymore. I just crave carbs. I'm like chocolate, bread, anything just to keep me going. So I'm not happy with the winter in that respect. So that's something that I have to try and help myself. You obviously cope well with that. You don't have
no, some of us have that issue year round, but alhamdulillah.
Okay, alhamdulillah. So listeners, I just wanted to make you aware that this show is a pre-record, so we won't be taking in any messages this morning, but you can hear us through the usual channels, through the airwaves at Inspire FM 105.1 FM, and also through TuneIn via the Inspire FM webpage, and also on your smartphones via the Inspire FM app. We should also be streaming as an audio via the Inspire FM Facebook page, where you can leave any comments on today's topic and must give the show a thumbs up. So we've been talking about the weather, and we've been talking about how we're coping with it and the rain that's been on and off. But in today's show, my guest and I will be exploring how life has developed for women in the working world. It's an open discussion with no wrong or right answer. Every woman works her own way, and we all share different ways of how we do our work and practice our ethics at work. This morning, everything that Sister Tazeen and I will be sharing will be our own opinions and our own views. So there is nothing that's etched in stone and you must follow. It's just our opinions, and it's just an open discussion that we are having. But before I begin with my talk, I'm sure listeners are keen to hear a bit more from Sister Tazeen. So please, can I get you to introduce yourself to the listeners?
Okay, assalamu alaikum everybody. It's lovely to be here today and to join the wonderful Sister Neelum, mashallah. Very honoured to be invited again onto the radio, alhamdulillah. So I'm a secondary school teacher in Luton. I've also taught in Sixth Form College in Luton. Born and brought up in Luton, lived in Luton all my life. Alhamdulillah, very proud to be part of this community and to, inshallah, serve the community, because I think we have a wonderful thing here in Luton.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
Wow, mashallah. Yeah, so you've really gone across the boards there with your working world there. You've gone through Sixth Form College, and now you're based in a secondary school working as a secondary school teacher?
I am, yes. So currently I'm at the Stock Park Academy over in Farley Hill. So alhamdulillah, very much enjoying it there. Quite new there, but very much alhamdulillah enjoying my time there.
Can I ask what subject that you teach at secondary?
Yeah, so I teach religious studies, or otherwise known as religious education in some schools.
Oh, wow. Wow, secondary, hats off to you. I don't know how you do it. I'm not sure I've got the patience. I've got teens at home and That's enough for
Alhamdulillah.
me. That's enough for me.
Alhamdulillah.
So, alhamdulillah, well done. So, I guess the question that I wanted to start off with, it's a bit of a strong question, actually. Do you think, in your own opinion, it's important that women work?
So again, massive disclaimer to start with. I think every woman's situation is unique, and I'm really sort of wary of generalizing, and sort of our viewers are going to be listening today, and how does that apply to me? I think everybody needs to have that intelligence and that sort of self-awareness to look at their own circumstances and to do what's best for them and for their family. So I think that's key as well. Generally, though speaking, I think women have a lot to offer. And when we talk about women in the workplace, I mean, if we go via negativa, the absence of women in the workplace, what are we as a society missing? Again, women have a lot to offer. They have a lot to contribute. By not sort of encouraging or at least facilitating for women to have that space, I think as a society we'd be all the poorer.
Yes, absolutely. Totally agree with you. And I don't think I could have answered that question in any nicer way that you just did there. I mean, there's a huge taboo around women working because, I look at myself and, I was working, I got married and I had children and then I stopped working. And, when it comes to filling out forms at school and they ask what your role is, I'd be like, oh, well, actually, professionally, I'm this, but actually, right now, I'm a homemaker, or a
Alhamdulillah.
housewife.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to associate myself with,
Yes.
and I don't like the word housewife because it's like
Yes.
I'm not the wife of the house. So
Subhanallah.
I always
True.
use housemaker as my homemaker as my thing because I think no, I don't like to think that I'm married to the house. I'm actually, there is more to me. As you said, women have so much to offer. But yeah, it's a strange one. I always think it's very hard when you are a mum to accept that being a mum is not actually a job. But it is.
I think, I mean, I was in the world of work, and then I took some time out to raise my two boys, alhamdulillah, when they were very young. And I used to run into colleagues out in public and they would say, oh, what are you up to now? And I'd say, I'm with the kids. And they would say, just with the kids? And I would say, you tried cooking and, teaching and, planning and the various things. We were homeschooling as well. So it was very intense. Alhamdulillah, very blessed. But I think people sort of underestimate the amount of time and effort that sort of goes into raising children. And sadly, in my opinion, I think it's very much belittled in society. So this idea of you're just a mother or you're just raising children. Again, at the same time, I know women that choose to go out into the world of work because they find that they're not appreciated by even within family or even within society, and they don't feel valued. And I find that, I don't know, that saddens me a little bit. It feels like, you have to get some sort of external validation, but it's true. Society really, sort of, I would say mothers are probably, the lowest rung of society at the moment. They're really the perception, which is ironic because I think it's the most important role in society. And again, working in education, we come across, sort of very sort of difficult things that we see with our students, and we try our very best to sort of help and assist, but often it's almost reversing, sort of some of what was perhaps experienced in the early years and the formative years, especially within the household. So I think that is a difficult side of things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the interesting thing that you touched upon there, and as a school teacher myself, having gone back into this working world now slowly, I can see a difference with the children. I think it's very, very important that women understand that their presence at home, be it just being at home and doing the things that are at home, has detrimental impact on the children's upbringing and confidence. Because as a school teacher, and I do primary level, I can see the difference in behavior of children that have got mums that are at home and mums that are working. And I can actually see the children that have, sadly working mums. And this isn't just a pure blanket, every single child was like this, but commonly the ones that were going to breakfast club and after school clubs because mums were working or dad was working and they needed to be picked up later times. Those children used to play up a lot in the classrooms, and I see a difference in how these children are behaving. Would you agree with this?
I think I would partially, but for me, it's more a matter of quality over quantity. So, say, for example, one of the sort of beautiful advices that I was very fortunate to have received was no matter how many children you have, to try to spend at least 10 minutes a day solely individually with the child, so you can really get to know their interests, their hobbies, their likes, dislikes, and other children aside, and that's something I'm constantly trying to, I think as a parent, many things I'm trying to still juggle, but that's one that I'm sort of quite mindful of. And I know mothers that are at home all day with their children, but again, there's not that attentiveness, there's not that that presence. So I would say being present. And again, children, they're very attentive, they're very intuitive as well. And I think when they have an adult, be it a parent or a teacher, who's present in front of them, and they're not present with them and they're not fully engaged, I mean, it's almost it's visceral, isn't it? They're picking up on that. And I think that can possibly, it's better just to have a few sort of more sort of aware moments rather than just
and I think that's a really good point that you're touching on there, Tazeen, because my husband, he read somewhere actually, I'm sure it was Sheikh Hamza Yusuf that said it as well, but he did say that because what I make the mistake of, I use dinner time because that's the one meal that we all have together. So I always say to the children, whatever online classes you have, wrap it up by 7:30, and that's the time we have to have dinner. 7:30 we're having dinner then, because everyone stopped all their stuff then, and it's nice for us to then sit down. And I make the mistake of going around the table and asking them all, so how was your day, how was your day, how was your day? But I've given each of them probably a couple of minutes, but the other child that's listening in will enter and interject and have their opinion on what the child's just, so it becomes a bit chaotic. But that's, I think, okay, yep, I've heard them out. But actually, when I sat down and heard that it's that individual time that you're meant to give to the child, where you're having that one-to-one with them. And then when I do that now, I've seen a totally different child when they, and I keep saying I've got to try and find that 10 minutes for each child and do it. But I do find that once I've done that, they're a totally different child. They are telling me more and a bit more chatty. So I think that mistake that I was making about allowing them to talk as a group, which is a good thing as well. I highly encourage that. I think family time is very important, and that's something that I grew up with, that atmosphere. So I really wanted to keep that in my family home as well. So that was very important for me. But yes, that time allocation is very important. I think you're very right there. And
I think as sort of modern mothers as well, sorry to interject, as modern mothers and working women as well, I think we're sort of really pushed for time constraints as well nowadays. So I think really just being creative. So my own mother, Allah bless her, my role model, mashallah, she would drive us to school, and on the way we would have or she'd drive us to our football clubs and our hockey clubs, and that time she was sort of utilizing. So again, I think it's about being creative, or after dinner, washing the dishes together. So I think it's about, just really creating those moments. But again, being really present and sort of being relaxed, being in the right state of mind. And really, I love what they say about our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that when he would speak to people, he would turn his entire being to them. So he would really be present with them. And again, we know the massive impact that had on the blessed companions as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's such a lovely element to remember there about when talking to people having your complete presence to them and showing that by turning your entire. I've seen people do that, and then my face changed, thinking, okay, they're really listening now. So and you feel a bit more valued. You feel what you're sharing has some importance. So it's really important. My next question was going to be women's roles in the workforce have evolved over the years. Would you agree with this statement?
So if I'm sort of cynically speaking, I'd say, pragmatically speaking, I think, sort of the powers that be have realized the sort of value of women in the workforce and sort of the economic advantages or benefits of that. But at the same time, it's important that women are in those spaces. And I think there's been more of a move to facilitate that. So like, things like flexible working, historically there's obviously there's that's not really been very much facilitated, but now it's heading in that direction. It's not where it should be. Like, for example, currently I think about a third of jobs offer flexible working, and this is despite about 8 out of 10 people saying that they actually want it. So we're not where we should be, but there is possibly improvement. And even in my career, I've seen sort of movement towards that. And I don't know if it's just because I work in a career where recruitment and retention is just very poor. Yeah. And it's a pragmatic thing. But there is definitely more facilitation of that now, especially for women, where often childcare and things are holding people back.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was just going to say post-pandemic, we've had a lot of companies now, rethink about how they're doing things. And one of the benefits has been, I mean, my husband, he's been very blessed, alhamdulillah, lucky to be remotely working, and he'll go into the office maybe once or twice a month. And so, it's not like he has to go in every single time. Yes. So he does have that blessing there. And it's been quite helpful because, he's been able to help me with the school run. So, helping out and this is, again, I mean, he's talked about his certain companies as well that he's worked alongside with, whereas they actually have a flexi role to say, look, we understand, you're raising your children and we don't want to compromise that in any way. So yes. If you have to take meetings while you're doing a school run, so be it. Put us on the speaker of your phone and your car and, take this meeting. That's how we will do it. We will roll with whatever is how you've got to work around your family. It's not like, oh, no, you've got to be in a formal environment and you've got to take this meeting. So I think in that sense, it's quite nice to see that from the pandemic, for both men and women, that's happening. In terms of the workforce changing and evolving over the years, only because my eldest daughter is wanting to go into the AI industry. And so she's not my typical doctor, pharmacist, all those things that we South Asian parents aspire for her to be. But she's not going into that. And I'm supporting her 100%, whatever, is her will, wherever her, at the end of the day, we can't force them to do what we think they should be doing. And I said to her, look, it's a very hard industry to get into, because once you step out of it to have a family and take that time out to have the family, people are going to be going ahead. And so to then take 5 years out and then go back into it, you're going to have missed out on all this learning and all this development. So you're not going to be able to dip in and out of the profession as easily. Do you think that still is the case, Tazeen? Would you agree with me?
Oh, that's the age-old question, isn't it? Can women have it all? I think, we have obviously the gender pay gap, and for women in the UK, age 40 and over, that's not going to close till they're pensioners. So we do have serious issues in the workforce in that respect. Can women naturally, obviously, are going to want to take time out to have babies. They're naturally going to want to be with their children. We're lucky in the sense that we're not like America. We do have the option of a year maternity, but again at a reduced pay. I think it's very difficult, and I think I'm hesitant on maybe speaking too much about it, because I know people's situations are sort of very particular, and people have their own context as well, and what works for them. But essentially, it does. I mean, to be honest, I took time out. So I took time out, and when I came back into my career, it was really challenging. And I'm, quite comfortable speaking about that now, but it was very challenging. I'd lost my confidence. I had to sort of reprove myself, things that I knew that I could do, but I had to sort of reestablish myself. It was really it was really difficult. But again, I think that's just one of the many barriers that women, and maybe women from certain backgrounds as well, have to sort of face.
Yes, it's very true. I mean, and I think you slightly touched on it there just at the end, but it all depends on your certain backgrounds that we are coming from, where you have to sort of prove yourself to say that, as I said, I took 17 years out from teaching, mashallah, and then decided that actually, and I was able to, and half of me wanted to do it to show my children that, look, I took time out, but I'm going back to it. I've not said, right, that's it, that's the end of that career. It's mummy's still doing what she always wanted to do as well. So I went back, and I think teaching for me, I don't think I ever switched off really. When you've got children of your own, you're continuously disciplining them, raising them, educating them. So you don't actually, as a teacher, you don't actually switch off. You are constantly teaching your children. So I was always, for me, although I wasn't teaching for 17 years, I feel I was, if that makes sense. But having taken that time out and then going back in, I did feel that I needed to try and fit in. And I'm talking to these teachers now that are so much younger, that don't have children. And I found now, and I'd be curious to hear your view on this. I found now that going back into teaching as a mum, I'm very different as a teacher now, as I was pre-kids. I was, a teacher, and I was understanding children. Oh, you've left your homework at home, or why have you done this? I was very matter of fact about things. But now if they say we couldn't hear, my mum couldn't hear us read because she was really busy, I can envision that, because I'm like, yeah, that's true, we are busy, and I can understand your mum being busy. Okay, that's fine. Try and just get to, maybe when mummy's cooking or something, just read. I can rejig it, but I'm a bit more compassionate now. I understand children a bit more better, because I think now I'm a mum, I see it very differently. And the TA that I had in my class, she's got no children, so she was very hard on, parents came by accident to pick their kids up because they forgot that they were in after school clubs. And I was like, oh, just let them take them. And she's like, nope, they have to go to the after school club. They've been booked in. I was like, okay. So this is where I realized that, oh gosh, being a mum, I'm too soft, because I understand that mums just come out of her way to come and collect the child, just let the child go. But the mum was very understanding. She said, that's fine, I'll just come back, and left. But
she's a more patient mum than me.
Yeah, I did say that to the TA. I said, you wouldn't want to cross me. If that was me as a parent, that you turned away, I don't think I would have walked away as happily. I would have had quite a few things to say to you. But would you agree that as a mum, you've changed a little bit more, or is it just me?
I'm not sure. So I wouldn't necessarily attribute it to being a mum. I would just say sheer life experience.
Okay.
So I think, once you hit a certain age, not mentioning what that is, I think you've seen enough, and you've experienced enough to sort of, one would hope, to sort of have that compassion for others. You don't know what others' struggles are, but you know that no doubt everybody has theirs. So I think, I mean, say for example, I work with teenage boys. I'm not, and I've never been a teenage boy, but you're a human being, and you're experiencing something, as in you're going through something. You have your challenges, and you'd hope that sort of with age and seniority, you would have that reflectiveness. Inshallah.
Yeah, I think so. I think, alhamdulillah, it is life experience, and I think we're coming from a different perspective now. aged not through just having children, but through experiences that have happened in our lives, be it good, be it bad. So we're
or in the lives of others, but that we've been exposed to.
Absolutely, yes, and yes, and that makes us a bit more different. Now, I wanted to go into the next question, but I've got about 60 seconds until the break kicks in. So I don't really want to go into the next question. Listeners, if you have just tuned in, I have the lovely Sister Tazeen with me this morning, and we are talking about working women and career changes and how life has developed for women in the working world. It is a pre-record, so unfortunately we won't be taking in any questions this morning, but we are streaming live as an audio on the Facebook page. So if you do have any questions or any comments that you would like to share with us, please do leave that on the Facebook page. But for now, we're going to go over to a short commercial break. I hope you've enjoyed the conversation so far, inshallah. But for now, go refill the hot cup of brew or whatever it is that you're having with us this morning, and join us after a short commercial break, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Atif Nawaz. Listen to Inspire FM shows in your time by heading over to inspirefm.org or listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning. Welcome back to Mother's Planet. I'm your host Neelum, and joining me this morning is Sister Tazeen. It is Friday, 8th of December. I feel strange saying that, really, 8th of December. I can't believe we are in December already. So listeners, earlier in the show, we were talking about women, working women and non-working women, and how life has evolved, or maybe not evolved, for women in the workforce, and the changes that have been taking place post-pandemic mostly. So just a reminder to the listeners that this show is a pre-record, so unfortunately I won't be taking any messages this morning, but we are streaming live as an audio on the Facebook page, so you can leave any comments on there. So I wanted to ask the question about the changing the expectations, Sister Tazeen, about women working, not working, and there's a taboo around both. Why are you not working? You should be working. Look at me, I'm doing this, and then I'm working and I shouldn't be working because I should be giving my children all the time. So it's trying to find that balance. How can we, what advice can we offer women out there to move forward and change these expectations, perceptions, good or bad, with women working?
So I think, firstly, every woman just needs to know herself. She needs to know her circumstances. She needs to know, they say, what's your metal? What are you made of? Everybody has a different, sort of threshold. People can take certain things. Some women would, be overcome and really struggle mentally just being home full time with the children. Other women would sort of relish that opportunity. So I think what's really difficult is looking at other people and sort of judging oneself based on other people, because thank God we're not all robots, we're not all the same. And also to be comfortable in one's skin, to sort of be bold enough to make the decisions that suit you. At the time when I actually left work and was raising my children, I actually I had a lot of resistance from even friends and family. You're educated, you've gone and you've studied, and you've acquired all these qualifications. Why are you spending time with toddlers? But again, that was something that I knew my circumstances, and it was actually one of the sort of greatest years of my life. Actually, just being around very young children in play, it's just amazing. Actually, amazing. Sort of watching them at that age and sort of seeing those developmental milestones. So yeah, I think it's knowing your own situation. And again, the haters are always going to hate. So, that's something that we're always taught to work honestly and to do everything with honesty and integrity, and to know that you're only answerable to your creator. And people will say things, but they don't know. They say whether somebody praises you or whether somebody critiques you, that is just that's an opinion. but you know yourself, so you shouldn't really be moved by either of those.
Yes.
And Allah knows your true state.
Yes.
And what's good for you. So, like, even just sometimes we don't know, but even taking that back to Allah and just saying, oh Allah, I don't know what's good for me. I think I can do this. I don't know if I can cope working. I don't know if I can, raise, stay at home and raise my kids, but help me and guide me. And, when the servant comes to the Creator with that neediness and that brokenness, then, Allah in His generosity carries that person through whatever it is that they're experiencing.
MashaAllah, alhamdulillah. And that's very sound there as well. And I think that's true. It's having that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because a few weeks ago I did a show about women turning 40. And one of the things that predominantly many women spoke about was how we thrive on what people's opinions are. And actually hitting 40 made them realize that they don't need to be validated by somebody else to say that, yes, you can do this or you should do this, or, opinions are opinions. And as you said, people will have negative thoughts and always be negative. And generally people are quite pessimistic. So we will always think, oh, but are you sure? Can you, really make that step? We're not very confident to say, yeah, let's go and do that bold movement. So yes, having that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ultimately being connected there would help us, definitely.
Yeah. And I think also to be aware that our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was endlessly optimistic, he really was. And even like we talk about women in the workplace, and it is a bit taboo to mention it, but even the sort of the monetary independence that women have. I know that's a bit of a taboo subject, but we have women when they're independent and they have their own financial independence. Yeah. We've seen, our tradition has sown. Firstly, we have Sayyidah Khadija, the one of the perfected women who had her own monetary independence, and she used that to aid Islam. None of us, we have 1.8 billion Muslims in the world today. There wouldn't be a single one of us had it not been for her sacrifices that she made. And she did that based on her, sort of her business acumen and her sort of her financial wealth that she gave in the cause of Islam. We have, a blessed female companion, Rufayda bin Aslami, at the Battle of Handak. She actually built the first military hospital, which was supported by the Prophet ﷺ. We have Shifa. She was a muhajira, and in the time of Sayyidina Umar, she was actually appointed as the supervisor of the marketplace and a leadership role. Yeah. So we have a disconnect from our own tradition. And I think that's what leads to often taboos around women in workplace, and especially women in leadership, where actually we have a precedent for this, more than one precedent in our tradition. We have, women not only in leadership roles, but also women using their financial independence and their wealth to serve the community and serve Islam. We have the oldest university in the world, the Karawi in Morocco, and it was Fatima al-Fihri, who actually founded that with her wealth. And there's a beautiful tradition of how I think every day that they were building the Karawi, and she would fast for that entire period. So these are epic women. These are the role models for our daughters. And you mentioned earlier as well about challenges. In a way, we need to teach our daughters and our sons for that, to have resilience as well. That actually whatever challenges they face, and now we talk about the workplace, we know realities like discrimination, prejudice. These are realities that our youth will face in the workplace, to have resilience and also courage to face those as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really appreciate what you've shared there, Tazeen, about the women that have in our Islamic history shown these role models, because I think we fail to forget that. And there is a cultural thing about this as well now, where culturally women shouldn't work, women mustn't work. And actually, if we look back from an Islamic perspective, we had women, working very hard and successfully in our Islamic history. So, and I think, yes, it's just to remind ourselves and our children of this, and not think that, no, your job is to just raise children and have children and that's it. There is more to it.
Yeah, I mean, I find it interesting because we have the beloved of God, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The wife. I mean, for the vast majority of his life, he was monogamous, and the wife that Allah chose for him was this, this entrepreneur, this really inspiring woman who was married previously. She had children from her previous marriage. She was a businesswoman. She was very astute. She also, interestingly, because she had that sort of the business side, she understood the world of men. And she had that awareness, and that's who Allah chose as a companion for his beloved Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So I find it interesting because you do have this discourse within some Muslim sort of circles, and often they'll cite Sayyidina Umar. Sayyidina Umar, very strict, very harsh, and Sayyidina Umar is the one who we just cited here, who's appointed Shifa bint Abdullah as the leader of the marketplace. Now, she was a woman. She would go around, she would enforce laws, she would make sure that the dealings were done with, with equity and justice. So we have a rich tradition, but sadly, because we have that disconnect with our own tradition, it sort of feeds this these sort of incorrect.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Tazeen, I mean, I'm interested because you took a time out from your career. So just to talk about your personal journey along this. So taking the time out and then stepping back in, how was that transition from, being a mum did you go back straight away full time? Did you ease yourself back into the working world? And what made you think, right, now I need to just go and work? What was your thought process? Children are old enough. What was going on there?
So mine's are quite interesting. Sort of, I would say, obviously everybody has their own sort of situations and so on. But for me, I think it was more just when I had my first child, just that, just the weight of raising a child was so immense. But I was in a very privileged position that I did have the opportunity to step back. And I think maybe you did mention we talk about support networks at some point as well, because it really is a matter of looking at your own situation and what support networks you have and what's available. But I was very fortunate that I did have sort of a rich support network around me. As they say, it takes a village to raise a child. So I did take time out, and then we also founded a homeschooling cooperative. So I mean, the idea wasn't it sort of came from the little one was at the age to go into nursery, and I thought, goodness, that's just very young. So I kept him back, and then we had a few other mothers that were similar, and then we did mums and tots groups for many years actually, and then that sort of the kids came to the age of going to school, to reception, and we just sort of thought we'd hold them back for a year. A year became 2 years, 3 years, so they're sort of in their formative years, more sort of similar to the Nordic model. We sort of we were homeschooling during that time. And then when I went back, I found, and I find this a lot of sisters have spoken to me about this, that they've almost stepped out. Now they've come back in, but the world's been moving along. So they have to you have to almost reteach yourself. You have to re-establish yourself in the workplace.
Yeah.
Interestingly, in my own situation, personally, I would say it was more challenging being at home.
Yes.
Personally speaking, which, I mean, I wouldn't say more challenging, but I would say just as, which is interesting because there's that idea that it's somehow easier.
It's harder. I think it's very hard because, I mean, as a school teacher, the pressure was always on me that your children need to be bright because you're a school teacher, so you can just teach them at home. But it's a total different story when it comes to teaching your own children. It's a very, your patience, your expectations, everything is at a different level when it's your own child. Whereas when you're in the classroom, you've got different children of different abilities, your threshold of expectations and everything just drops, and you're different. And it's harder when you teach your own child. So yes, I can imagine it being more exhausting being at home than it probably was going back into work. But when you went back to work, how was that for you? Did you get people, praising you, well done, you've taken on your career because this is what you were made to do? Or was it like, are you sure this is what you want to do? I'm talking about myself here a little bit. When I'd stopped teaching and then I started supply teaching, and I had my mum, full of praise. Well done, you've done. And alhamdulillah, I've got a super mother-in-law. She's said, look, it's brilliant, I'm really happy that you're happy, I can watch the little one, I can help you. So again, the support network that you're saying.
Yeah.
I just have a very clingy 3-year-old who does not want to go to anyone but mummy, so I need to fight that battle on my own. But I was praised for raising children. I was praised for being at home. Mum was proud. And I know that, you always want to make your parents proud. So I know that my parents were proud, but I didn't realize how much more they were proud that I went back to what I had studied to be, a teacher. The level of praise was totally different. Oh, good, you're doing something that you were designed to do, or worked to do. How was it for you?
Yeah, I would say that, as women, we have this sort of within us to sort of almost sacrifice even our own wants and our own desires. So when you're speaking to me, I'm very much hearing, your parents were pleased with you, your husband were pleased with you, your kids were pleased with you.
What about
and I'm saying, who cares? No, not with no disrespect intended, but what do you want? So, as a woman, what is it that you want? Do you feel? And again, women, we have so much to give, so much to contribute to, the workforce. Imagine you didn't have any, females in the world of medicine. You didn't have any females in the world of education. What a state those professions would be. So I think, for women to look at their own skill set, look at what they can offer, what they want to offer, because human beings naturally, I think, when we fulfill our purpose, we get like this sort of intrinsic satisfaction out of that. So I think that's the question that women should really be asking themselves. And then after asking themselves, to take the practical means. So I think networking is really good. And if you were in a career and you took a career break, to keep in the loop. So keep in contact with colleagues, rather than maybe, if possible, if you don't want to completely leave your career, go very part-time, but, sort of keep up with things, so that when you go back, it's not, as it was for me, sort of very much, getting thrown in at the deep end again. But yeah, I think for women, when I say networking, I mean very much like women supporting other women as well. Yeah. So, you have women who, say, for example, workplaces are very much sort of male dominated and so on. But actually, when you have women, and say, for example, a sister was telling me of a colleague who wanted to breastfeed at work. So she was the first one to raise it, and some feathers were ruffled, and it was that initial discomfort of getting these things established. But look how now, subsequently, when women come, it's not even an issue. Probably nobody even thought twice about, there was a time when there wasn't a breastfeeding room here. So I think for women, it's just to know, and again, they have this this idea of like imposter syndrome, that a lot of women think, I shouldn't be here, I don't belong here. But actually, and again, I think they've done studies on how like more authors are male rather than female, because there is this sort of bravado in writing a book. Like, these are my ideas, I'm putting them down on paper. So again, when it comes to like negotiating salaries and so on, women will really not engage, and men are more likely to. So I think it's just women knowing that they belong. Yeah. And again, when you network and you speak to other women and they're in similar roles, and you have that validation as well as that that sort of sisterly support. I think women, we're our own worst enemies. Again, when you're talking about taboos, maybe it's just me and my poor opinion of people, do forgive me. But again, the image that was conjured in my mind was women hating on other women. So I think to really reignite that sisterhood and really understand that every woman's got her struggle, but actually there is strength in women supporting other women.
It's interesting you say that about the negotiating, because from my husband and I's, from our perspective, I'm always the better negotiator with everything. So even when it comes to, I think, and that's a skill that I think I've picked up at home, because, when you've had like builders come out and say, we're going to do this and we're going to charge you X, Y, and Z for it, I've always worked around it, saying that, look, talk me through how you're doing this. Where's your material coming from? And I've outsourced stuff and said, look, I can get that cheaper. Don't add that in. I'll do this. So I think
you're negotiating there, my love. You're negotiating for your family, and you're negotiating on behalf of your husband and your kids.
It's coming out of my bank salary, so I think that's
no. But the idea is, I think the idea behind that is the reason why I think women are reluctant to negotiate, for example, their salary or even their position or their roles and their responsibilities, is because they don't value themselves. And I think a lot of women, because we have this sort of, generally, I'm generalizing here, do forgive me, but this sort of self-deprecating nature and this, sort of constantly sacrificing for others, which is, don't get me wrong, powerful, it's beautiful, it's immense. But at the same time, there needs to be that, for a woman to understand her own value and to understand that and to have that confidence. I think the main thing is confidence, that I do have these skills, I can contribute, and I have a place and I can actually do good. Like the examples that we cited earlier as well, like had these women not had that, as a human race, we would be all the more poorer, really.
I think you're right there. I think, especially when it comes to, and I guess that's when the sisterhood element can kick in as well, because if we remind each other of these positive attributes that women have and what we have, it's, how we can lift each other and support each other and remind each other that actually you are worth, and, you do have something going for yourself. And that's really important. So, I'm curious to know how you are doing it, Tazeen, what your secret is as a working mum. I'd like to know your secret, please, about finding the balance, because I think this is something that many women struggle with. Like, you have the home life and mashallah, you have children as well, and you're balancing both, and you always look amazing. Every time I see you, I think she's, mashallah, always strong-headed and getting on with things. And I like the way you multitask and you think, right, I'm doing this and in that sort of time frame. So you're very organized as well, mashallah. So, what's your secret?
I think you need to spend a few minutes with my children and they will reveal all. That's not the case. I'm running around like a headless chicken half the time. But alhamdulillah, one thing I'm very, very fortunate of is to have a great support network. So I think, they say behind every great man is a great woman, they're supporting him. But again, behind every established woman, a successful woman, is a whole group of sisters, helping her, be it mother, be it sister, be it auntie, assisting her, even just if it's for a coffee and that, that sort of that conversation, praying for her, so I think there's a whole team behind each successful woman as well, alhamdulillah. And again, we have to be that for each other. So, alhamdulillah, if you feel like you're in a situation where you've been blessed with that, then alhamdulillah, thank your blessings. But also then you be that force in somebody else's life to nurture others and to lift others. One thing they say about our beloved Prophet ﷺ is that he lifted people, he brought out the best in people. He just wanted to raise people. And I think we often, especially if you talk in the professional world as well, especially women, even in the sort of social sphere as well, we hate on other women, and there's a lot of cattiness and there's a lot of envy and sort of you're sort of wanting to draw people back. But I think as well, if you talk theologically as well, we have a belief that Allah is Al-Kareem, generous. So if there's a successful woman, Allah can give every woman that success and that contentment in her personal, private, social, professional life.
Yeah.
So to really wish good for people and to lift people and to nurture and support them, I think that's quite an important element as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, I know, again, this is me turning, and I think you've made me think a little bit differently about myself now, but as women, we need to be role models to our children as well. So, having daughters myself, I know that when I do certain things, they're going to only emulate everything that I do. So I have to put on, and I don't like to say facade, but you kind of do have to put on a little bit of a facade about how you're taking on things, because you always want to get them to see the best. But it's okay to have these meltdown moments and breakdowns. And would you agree? What's your thoughts on that? As a mum,
So what do you mean? What do you mean by meltdowns?
So as a mum, when you are trying to put on this image that you've got to be strong and you've got to just take on things, but then actually, you're going to hit rock bottom. It's going to be a challenging moment, and it's actually going to be quite hard. How, you don't need to put on a fake face. Then you can actually show that meltdown.
Yeah. Well, I would say, I would say to be honest with your children, and also I think I've had this worry as well, actually, that we have to, especially as women, sort of like toughen up. Like you're in the world of work, you have to act and talk in a certain way with our sons and our daughters. But I think it's important to be honest and say, look, this is challenging. Yeah. I'm struggling. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's actually really healthy and really good to say, look, I'm struggling and I need a bit of help with this. I think that's quite an important thing for children to show them.
Believe it or not, we've got about half 30 seconds left of the show. Is there any piece of advice that you could offer to the listeners that tuned in this morning?
Keep your core strong. So no matter what you're doing, however busy home life, work life gets, have a moment where you're alone with your creator, be it 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and just be alone. No kids, no work, nothing, no phone. And inshallah, keep your core strong. If your core's strong, whatever you face in your life, inshallah, by your core, I mean your relationship with your creator. If your inward's strong, then inshallah, whatever you face, Allah will make it easy for you, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you. Sound advice there. Assalamu alaikum and Jummah Mubarak to everyone tuned in this morning. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Why not tune in to our live stream at inspirefm.org and follow and subscribe to our social media platforms at InspireFM Luton.